Welcome to Spin Justice with me, Hayley Owens, the podcast where I'll be talking about anything from health and fitness to the injustices of the world and everything in between. I've worked within the criminal justice system for over 20 years and have more recently taken to teaching indoor cycling, otherwise known as spin. Each week I'll be talking to a different guest about a topic that's personal to them, whether it be to raise awareness or just because. Most episodes will contain strong language because of who I am as a person, so if that's not for you, then probably best to swerve. Any opinions expressed by me are my own. Welcome, Louise Wright.
Thank you.
Now, trigger warning on this episode, people, and don't be turning it off if you think that this is going to be, it is going to be sad. Parts of it are going to be sad. But I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about baby loss.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, you know, if something sad comes on the telly,
Yeah.
do you watch it or do you turn it over?
It depends what it is.
Yeah.
And it depends what mood I'm in.
Right, okay. Because, you know, if, like, say, even like the Pride of Britain Awards, I'd turn off. I can't watch it.
I don't like watching the news.
No, nor me.
I like to kind of live in my own world a little bit.
Same.
And not really know what's going on. Some of that's is too much, isn't it, what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
Some things, sometimes I want to have a good cry, you know.
See, I never, ever do.
Don't you ever feel like that?
I don't ever feel like I want to take myself to that.
Yeah. Well, you're scared that you wouldn't come back?
I think I probably would struggle to stop crying.
Yeah.
If I see something sad on the telly, I instantly turn it off. And one of my favourite programmes ever, if not probably like my top best programme, is Gogglebox.
Yeah, yeah.
But they do this like Stand Up to Cancer one every now and then.
Yes,
so they'll do like
and they'll put the clips.
And they put the clips in and it writes me off. I actually have to turn it, either go and do something until it's finished, that part, or turn it over or fast forward it, because I physically can't watch the sad stories. It really affects me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'd say is, though, my story, I like to think that it's a story of hope as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm getting emotional already, you know.
Well, I was, and if you've got any tissues about in the top drawer, only because I was just looking around for some before we started because I thought I might get upset in this one. I've not got upset in any yet, really. Yeah. There's a couple that I've got upset on the way home.
Yeah, when you've thought about it after.
The domestic violence episode springs to mind.
Absolutely.
Even Dan Hadley's one was a little bit upsetting, like growing up in care and things like that. But I've managed to hold it together on most of the podcasts. But when I was driving in, thanks. Oh, no. God. Oh, we'll put them here.
Yeah.
If when I was driving in, I was just listening to some music and like a sad song came on and I felt myself welling up and I thought, fucking hell, how are you going to get on like doing this podcast?
Music is though, isn't it? Like music's a big, for me, music is like a big trigger for sadness, absolutely.
It is. And I don't listen to sad songs and there's got to be a reason behind all of this. I'll have to look into it more. I don't take myself there.
Yeah.
So we've got Juno with us as well.
Yes.
So if people are listening and not watching and you can hear her, if she gets up and walks across the room, you'll hear her tip-tapping. Yeah, so she's our emotional support dog for the day. Let's just go a bit of background in terms of pregnancies and stuff, because I know you've got an older son.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
You're a boy mum like me.
Yes, I am. So I've got he's 17 now. Scary.
Yeah.
I've got a 17-year-old son called Louis that I had when I was quite young, 22. Met my husband, had a bit of a whirlwind romance, got pregnant quite soon into our relationship. He's still my husband now, so that's all went well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, had Louis, 22, complicated after his birth, had an emergency caesarean, traumatic birth, like lots of women have, not talked about enough, not addressed enough, but yeah, very traumatic birth. Was in hospital for 2 weeks after I had him.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, loads of infections in my caesarean scar. I couldn't really get to the bottom of. I had an ileus, which is where your bowel basically is paralysed and goes to sleep, so you've got no movement in your bowel and your digestive system. So
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's quite common if you in abdominal surgery. You know, if your bowel doesn't like being touched or messed with. Right. So if anything happens to your bowel like that in your surgery, it can just go no, sorry, I'm not playing, and it's called an ileus. So I had like a raw tube, you know, and you see people with tubes up their nose to try and get it to prevent my symptoms. It was horrible. I was 22. I
Yeah.
had a new baby. I'd not long come back from working abroad when I met Chris. I was, you know, still living my life, and then I was suddenly had this baby and this. So that went on for about 6 months, this infection on and off. Ended up, I had him in the February, in the June, ended up in ITU because they drained about 3 litres of pus from my abdomen.
Right.
Where I just had this build-up of infection. So I went home and I'd be all right for a few weeks, and then I'd get an infection. They'd give me some antibiotics. It'd get better for a couple of weeks. I'd be ill again. I lost my hair, not just normal postpartum loss, like real horrible hair loss, and I was as white as, you know, the walls. I was really, really pale. And then they said to me after I was better, I'd finished in ITU. Luckily, I survived. I was okay. You know, we're not sure. I've had a follow up at the women's hospital, and they said we're not sure what your future fertility is going to look like.
Right.
Because of the damage that's being done.
Right. So you knew that early doors then.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're still like 22 at this point.
Yeah,
23.
newborn baby. And when you think you've got a newborn baby, you're 22 and you've been ill, you're thinking, I'm not having any more kids, so don't know what to do. Don't bother talking to me about that.
Yeah.
So,
but even if you hadn't had all of those complications, I think when you've just had a baby, most people go, fucking hell, not again.
Way.
And then you come round, don't you, after a bit.
Yeah.
But I think most people are on that wavelength.
Definitely.
So plus the complications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about it at the time, and then I went to uni and I retrained as a nurse. And then when I qualified, me and my now husband started thinking about having more kids. So Louis was about 4 at this point. And we were trying, and I was thinking it'll happen. After quite a few years of trying, it didn't happen. We went to the doctors. You know, it's not happening. We know that I've got these issues that from previous pregnancy. So they referred me to gynecology. I had some scans. They said it's not looking good. Your fallopian tubes are really damaged. We'll do some surgery and we'll see what we can do. So we can. I had like the test, you know, where they put the dye through your fallopian tubes.
That does, don't it?
Hurt. Another thing that women go through.
Yeah, I've had that before.
It's not a nice procedure.
So they put you on like a table, don't they?
Yeah.
And like insert like a speculum and then fill you with dye.
And then like
and watch it on the screen,
go
into the tubes, don't they? And it's fucking painful.
It is. But my one tube was completely blocked. My other one was just letting a little bit through, and they said, you're not going to catch like this. They'd also done some other scans and said that all my insides, I've got lots of adhesions, lots of stuff stuck together. I think my one fallopian tube was stuck to my ovary. I can't remember all the finer details.
Bit like an endometriosis.
Yeah,
because I've got
surgery,
that as well.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Yeah, and that's fucking painful. I'm on medication for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, up until, oh God, I want to say like 6 years. Up until like 6 years ago, I was really, really struggling with that.
Yeah.
I've been like medicated for a while now, and I feel like my complications and pain and all the issues sort of come down. But like I'm in this menopausal state now as well. So
that adds another element into it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, it's
I always say, like, if I could choose again, I'd definitely come back as a man.
Easy.
Absolutely. You know, the stuff that we have to go through as women is just awful.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you've got adhesions and whatnot.
So I had surgery, and there was an amazing surgeon at the women's hospital, and she said, we'll have a look, we'll do a lap. So basically just go in and have a look what's going on. She was worried about where she was going to go in with the keyhole because of all the damage. So she put me to sleep and she said, I don't know what we're going to find. This was just before we got married. So I think it was like about 4 months before we got married, or just after we got married. My timeline's a bit off, but it was around the time we got married. So she did surgery, and it ended up being a 4-hour surgery, and she cut away at the adhesions, and she got the dye to run through both my fallopian tubes.
Great.
And I woke up and she said to me, you know, it's been really good. It's been really successful. And I remember crying and being like, oh, we can go on honeymoon now. I don't need to pay for IVF. Right. That's how I know it was around when we got married.
Yeah.
And being really thankful for this doctor who was so patient and lovely and really understood, you know, fertility and infertility. So that was really good. They said, go away, try and have a baby for a year, see what happens. So we tried for a year. Nothing happened, unfortunately. So we went I had a follow-up appointment, and the doctor said, we're just going to list you for IVF now. You know, there's not much more that we can do. I said, yes, please. Like, we'll be listed for IVF.
So was your husband tested at this time as well?
Yeah, he was fine.
So he was fine.
No problems. He was actually proud of, he's going to kill me for saying this, he was proud of his sperm count. He used to tell people that he had like 65 million per mil sperm or something.
Brilliant. So he's fine and proud of it.
Proud of it.
Yeah.
So, they tested him as well. It's part of all the tests that they do, like blood tests and sperm tests, etc.
But at that time, and isn't it really... I don't want to... It sounds horrible, but when you're trying to have a baby, don't it feel like everyone around you's getting pregnant?
Oh, yeah.
And you feel resentful.
There's pushchairs everywhere. There's adverts on the TV. Every other advert on the TV is for nappies. Yeah. Everything on social media is babies.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Mrs. Hinch with the nappy caddies. You know, she used to get them grey nappy caddies.
Yeah, yeah.
There is nothing more that I wanted in my life than to have a nappy caddy in my house.
Yeah.
Like, and when everyone's having a baby now, I always buy one of them.
Do you?
And I fill it with the stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, have a nappy caddy. Because that was just something that I just, you know, the little things that you just long for, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got referred to IVF. Our appointment came through. We just waited for it. It was about 3-4 months. About 3 weeks, a month before the appointment, I got pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought, hang on a minute, what happened? Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what happened. My friend Sam messaged me.
This
saying,
Sam. Sam's here.
I didn't know if you were saying she's here.
Yeah, we can say she's here.
She always comes everywhere with me, so she's here. So Sam, tell me if I'm telling the story wrong, Sam. Sam messaged me saying, I'm late on my period or I've done a test. Which was it? I told you I was pregnant. Okay. I've got something to tell you. She was worried to tell me because she knew I'd been trying. I think it was about 5 years at this point we've been trying for. So she was worried to tell me because Sam had only been trying a couple of months. I've got something to tell you. I'm pregnant. No, she said first, I've got something to tell you. And I was like, just tell me. You know, like it's on a text. She was like, I want to tell you to your face. And I was like, no, just tell me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was at this point. I thought, oh my God, what is it?
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm pregnant. And I was honestly ecstatic for her.
You was pleased.
Yeah. And then I thought, hang on a minute. Sam's pregnant. Our periods are the same. Like, we were a bit synced, weren't we? I haven't come on my periods. And then I thought, no, I can't be pregnant. So I remember it was a Saturday, wasn't it? And I said, if my period hasn't started by the time Britain's Got Talent comes on, I don't know why. I'm in a hype, but it's got talent now. But I'm going to do a pregnancy test because, like, when you're trying for a baby for 5 years, it's a bit like triggering doing a pregnancy test.
Yeah, because it's disheartening every time you get that one line.
I used to buy 100 off Amazon, 100 ovulation tests, 100 pregnancy tests. So, yeah, I thought if it hasn't, but I didn't wait that long, did I? And then I think I waited about an hour, and I said to my husband, like, I haven't got my period, I'm going to do a pregnancy test. He was like, oh, you're not going to be pregnant. Like, he's so used to that. Like, people who know me know that I'm like a bit of a drama queen as well. So I was probably like, I'm probably pregnant. And then I did the test, and it was really, really faint, wasn't it? You know, one of them cheap stick ones off Amazon. It wasn't like a proper...
Not a clear blue or anything.
And then I was like, Chris, is my husband, go and buy me loads of pregnancy tests.
A variety, please.
I think I did 25.
Fucking hell.
Tests. Yeah.
How much did that cost? Because they ain't cheap either, are they?
Every time I went to he bought like a few. Sam's husband bought a double pack of digital ones. So I went to her house and did one. We did a digital together. I've still got the photo of that. And then every time I went to a shop, I bought a pregnancy test because I just didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, having such a rush to my head. Like, my blood pressure had gone up and having to sit on the floor and being like, oh, my God, I'm just shaking, you know, pure, like, adrenaline.
How old was Louis at this point?
Louis was about 8 at that point, yeah. So 8 or 9, around that age at that point. So, yeah, and it was amazing. And then we found out our other friend was also pregnant.
Who's that? Do I know them?
No, you don't know. Her name's Louise. She, I don't think you know her. She didn't go to school with Sam. No. But I met her at sixth form, and then Sam met her through me. So she was also pregnant.
So three of you together
at the same time, and our due dates were 2 days apart.
Oh my God!
So who was due first? Yeah. No, I wasn't. I wasn't due first. Lou was due first, our friend, and then Sam, and then me. But because I had a planned section, I had Billy first.
Right, so
Yeah.
what month and year are we in now?
So what month was it when we found out we were pregnant? November.
2016.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Maybe a bit before. No, maybe October.
So
October
towards the
it
end of
was.
2016, you're
Yeah.
finding out that you're pregnant. You know,
Yeah.
you've been trying for 5 years and all that. Brilliant.
Absolutely. And then you find out that two of your best friends are also pregnant at the same time. That's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it is.
my first time round, I was young. None of my friends, a couple of my friends had babies, my school friends, but not many. I didn't really have a circle of mums. I didn't really go to that many baby groups. You know, I was 22. My friends were 22 or younger. Sam was like, how old were you then? 19.
This
you
is
know,
it, yeah. I was the first out of my friends to have a baby at 24, and I feel like, oh God, I mean, all my mates were going Vegas.
Yeah.
And I remember them
Yeah,
messaging,
yeah.
going, anyone want to come Vegas? And I've got
you're
a
like,
baby.
no, got
But
childcare,
now
yeah.
it's like the roles are
No,
reversing.
they're having little babes and your kids are older.
I feel like, obviously I'm 40 coming up, and I'm like, anyone want to go Vegas? Like, and they're all like having little kids now.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, so it's tough then. And back then, don't forget, it's not like it is now. Well, social media weren't really a thing
No.
then. I mean, you know, I had like a BlackBerry phone, or maybe
Yeah.
even before that when I had Thomas. You know, you'd have a laptop for Facebook and stuff, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And to find groups, like these days, it's much easier to find groups and
get a
things to be
circle,
more,
yeah.
and to get a circle. But back then, you'd have to go around your local community centres
Yeah.
and find out if there was a stay and play on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to just like hardly do anything.
No, it's not the same at all. No.
Yeah, it was hard back then, you
Yeah.
know, like a lot easier now to connect with people in the same
Absolutely.
situation as yourself.
Yeah.
So you're living the dream at this point. So you've got,
Absolutely.
you're pregnant now after all this time. Your best mates are pregnant. So what was your pregnancy like?
Perfect. It was
Was
my best
it?
pregnancy. My first pregnancy was okay, but I had a couple of little things. And my latest pregnancy with George, my rainbow hit, was horrific because I think 'cause I was older. But it was a nice pregnancy. Really, we shared it all together. I was excited throughout. Sam and Louise were very anxious. You know, 1 in 3 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. There was 3 of us pregnant.
Right.
We had that real like fear. I not me so much because I think I was that elated, and I remember being like, "Come on, let's talk about our births. Let's talk about this." And you guys were like, "No, I don't want to talk about it, sure."
You'd had a successful pregnancy.
Yeah.
So
So
you
yeah,
had that fear.
so I didn't have that fear as much. So yeah, but all of our pregnancies, you have the odd little thing, don't you? Going in for reduced movements and things like that.
Yeah.
Sam had preeclampsia towards the end of her pregnancy, but Louise had some difficulties during her labour. But apart from that, it was smooth sailing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, because everyone tends to get, especially the bit further on into your pregnancy that you get, you know, you think, oh, I haven't felt any movement today, or they drink the cold water and all that, try and get them moving. I've done that. You go to the doctors, they might put what are them things called?
Doppler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
let's
the
have a
Doppler thing, and have a
listen.
listen. Great. I used to love that.
Yeah.
My pregnancies were amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You
I
enjoyed
just,
being pregnant.
I loved being pregnant.
Oh.
I've said it time and time again. If I'd be, but again, we're getting on now, so it probably wouldn't be the same
No,
because I'm older.
it's
But
not.
I feel like I loved it so
Yeah.
much.
It's amazing, like if you think that you're actually growing a person.
Yeah, and I weren't sick, and I didn't
Yeah.
feel ill.
Yeah.
I felt, especially with Jack, my second, I felt like because I was so busy, like with a toddler. And you know,
yeah.
I had another dog then, so I'd be out of the pushchair walking the dog.
Yeah.
From the back, I didn't look pregnant.
That's
I know, and
amazing.
I'd turn, I had this big
And
bum.
you just felt great.
I just loved it. I really did. And even the births, I just loved. But
Yeah.
looking back, like, you know,
Yeah.
they were easy compared to
Yeah.
some. Some people have a real hard
They do,
time, don't
yeah.
they? So your birth then
I had a
with Billy.
planned
Oh, you had a planned section.
They gave me the date early on, so I was prepared. I had my hair blow dried the night before by Faye.
Oh my God.
Which it was just all planned to the T, you know, like my hair was blow dried, did my fake tan, I packed my bag, you know, like
You were ready.
I was ready, I was excited. This
God, I
was going to
didn't
be
think of any of that.
perfect. This was going to be like, you know, the best. We went for a meal the night before up to the harvest day. You know, this was going to be like, this was it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I had
Yeah.
a terrible experience with my first child. This one was going to be
Yeah. How
the
it should
best,
be, yeah,
with my
yeah.
mates. It was summer, baby.
Yeah.
You know, we were going to have the summer of our lives.
Maternity
Yeah.
leave, yeah.
All together, whole year off with your mates.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you know, I thought this literally you couldn't write this, you know.
Yeah.
Did you? What could go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when we were in them latter stages of pregnancy.
Yes.
That was it. We were on the final hurdle. This is it.
So you went in and had your planned section
Yeah.
at the QE,
Yeah.
the women's, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's great, and it's
Yeah,
a great
yeah,
hospital.
they were great. Yeah, they were
I've
great.
had both of mine there.
Yeah.
And I was in the birth suite.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if you wouldn't go in there if you had a section,
no,
would you?
No.
So I was like in this birth suite, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Do you want a bath? Do you want a massage?" I had a massage when I was giving birth to Jack. Yeah,
That's
I had full of
amazing.
oils and everything.
I
Yeah.
love that.
It was great.
The birthing spa.
A birthing spa. And they came to he was actually, just quickly tell you this, he was born at 4:20 in the morning, and at 7:00 in the morning they come round and was like, "You can go home now," and I was like, "Absolutely not." Like,
It's too nice today. I'm going to enjoy
I need to sleep. What do you want
Yeah.
about? I've got a toddler at home. Like,
Well,
as soon as I walk in that door, it starts.
Yeah.
So like, I want to kip. So I
Yeah.
slept till lunchtime and then I went home.
We used to joke about that 6 hours discharge.
First baby, you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Second baby,
You don't. You want to stay in.
Yeah,
But we
first
used-
baby. Yeah, you're like, "Oh, get me out, get me out."
Yeah.
But I stopped in overnight with Thomas, my first, because I had a 3rd-degree tear.
Oh,
So they were like
gosh.
stitched up and all that. And so I stayed in for the night, and I was on a ward. So I couldn't wait to get home. Second time I was like, "Fuck that. Like, I'll stay here for a bit."
Yeah.
So I did.
You need a little break, don't you, before you go back to reality.
Yeah, definitely. So
Definitely.
how was your C-section and everything?
Fine.
All
Perfect.
right.
No problems. Discharge. I was up, dressed the next day, ready to go.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't wait to go home. Like, Louis was a bit older then. He was quite, you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't going home to a toddler. I was going home to a when he was 9, then 9-year-old. So I couldn't wait to get back to him. You know, people came and visited me. Everyone was ecstatic. We had this baby after all this time. Like, it was great. Amazing.
Yeah. So what month are we in now?
June. 8th of June, he was born.
My son's birthday's the 8th of June.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's
Yeah.
is the 6th.
My son's is the 8th.
No way.
Mine's the 23rd.
Yeah.
So like, so I had Thomas
Oh, just before your birthday.
just for my birthday. It was 2010, that was.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
8th of June. I was I'd had my section. Sam had become unwell. She had high blood pressure. So Sam was downstairs
yeah.
in triage.
Yeah.
Where were you?
In the
In the ward bit.
getting
Like
induced.
before where you get induced. And then I was upstairs. Obviously I couldn't go and see her because I could hardly walk, because I just had to see her. But we were texting each other, weren't we?
No way.
Yeah. And so it was amazing.
Yeah. So
it's
when
nice memories, really nice memories.
yeah, really fun to look
Yeah.
back on. And how soon could you go home?
I went home the next day.
So-
yeah, the next morning.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I didn't go the next morning, actually. That's a lie. Because, you know, when they're waiting for your bloods and stuff, they couldn't get my bloods. So our other mate, Louise, heavily pregnant, came and sat with me
Yeah.
until I could go home. I said to my husband, go to work, don't waste a day of your paternity leave. We'd wasted so much of it the first time because I was in hospital.
Yes.
We didn't get any time together. I said, I don't want to waste a day of your paternity leave. So go to work today and then pick me up after work. And
Yeah.
then Louise will come sit with me.
Yeah.
And she was there, heavily pregnant, ready to drop herself, sitting with
Oh.
me. A few people thought that she was the mum. We're like, are you the mum? She was like, no. I've still got a baby in here.
Yeah. 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 Oh, brilliant.
But
Did you
yeah,
put
it
that
was
cup down?
nice. Yeah.
So brilliant then. So you go home the next day.
Yeah.
Husband on paternity
Perfect.
leave with you now for,
Yeah.
for two weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 'cause it's
And
still
then-
2 weeks, isn't it? I mean, it's
yeah,
not
and
long
then he
enough.
booked he had some annual leave after as well.
Right,
yeah.
so you got a big chunk of
Yeah.
time now to celebrate. It's summer, you
Yeah.
know, it's perfect. So what happened then? So, you know, you just falling into this
yeah, we're in our
maternity
baby
leave
bubble, yeah.
in your baby bubble.
Yeah, so we was out and about quite soon, really. We went to Harborne for breakfast. Like, Louis was at school, so we'd take Louis to school and then like go for breakfast quite quickly. Like, I think I only stayed in about 1 or 2 days. I was just really wanted to get out and about. You know, I'm not saying that every woman should do that, by the way, because sometimes I feel like there's a bit of a competition. Like, oh, I've had a cesarean yesterday, now I'm doing the school run. Like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
It's however you feel, isn't it?
yeah.
But I just wanted to be out and about. I remember going to the Harbour. We went to like took Louis to the trampoline place, Flip Out in Oldbury. We went to Sam's. So Sam got home with Edward. So Edward was born on the 10th.
Right.
So we went to Sam's. Did we have a barbecue?
Sat in the garden.
Yeah, I remember we sat in the garden. I remember we had food, but yeah. So like, and our babies were together on the dining table in their car seats. So I remember that.
God.
So yeah, it was just like
Dream.
Actually the dream. Yeah, the maternity leave start of the maternity leave that I'd always wanted, and it was hot, wasn't it? It was that June and it was like boiling hot. The weather was gorgeous.
Yes.
We went to Chrissy's friend's house to a barbecue. We took him, see all Chrissy's mates. Like, it was really good. Really good, nice time.
Yeah. So
it was Father's Day as well, actually. I remember it was Father's Day in between.
Yes, because it's always in June.
Yeah, and we took him to Chrissy's mum and dad's, and we've got a beautiful photo that Chrissy's mum took lying on the floor of Louis and Billy, like face to face, that she took them from lying on the floor and photos. And then we went to see my dad. I lost my dad in November, and I've got a beautiful photo of him holding Billy on Father's Day.
Oh.
So, yes, you know, like really real special memories.
Yeah. So at what point then did this bubble come to an end and burst? And this is where it's going to get sad.
Yeah. So was it the day that we'd been to your house?
No. It wasn't it the day after Father's Day or something like
that? It was the 19th of June that we went to bed. So it was funny because when we were at Sam's, we remember saying, "Oh, flipping it, we haven't took a photo." And Luke, Sam's husband, said, "Oh, it's not like you're not going to get a million chances," didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, like a man would say, you know. Because, you know, we're women a lot with their photos. Men aren't as, we're always together. He'd probably think you'll be together a lot every day for a year, so you don't need to take a million photos today. But we were like, oh yeah, let's go, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then so the night, I can't remember what we were doing I was doing that day.
We were going out the next day.
I know we were going out the next day. Louise had her baby Margot.
Right.
On
Okay.
the 10th. So they were.
So same as you?
No, 12th. Sorry.
So 8, 10, 12.
10th, 12th. And my cousin had also had twins on the 12th, twin babies on the 12th.
Bloody hell, baby boom that
week,
year.
I know. So we'd planned to go to Waisley. Yeah. We'd planned to go to Waisley for a picnic.
Yeah.
On the 20th of June. Where we were all going to meet for the first time with our husbands, with our babies, have a picnic. We were planning on who was going to take what food. You know, it was, you know, I love food. So, it was exciting. But so we went to bed as normal on the 19th. I breastfed Billy, so up a few times in the night as normal. And then we woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and I looked at him and I just knew something was wrong, and he wasn't breathing. I just remember screaming my husband's name and starting CPR.
Right, okay.
So I'm a nurse.
Of course, right, okay, so you're a nurse.
I'm not a child's nurse.
No.
Doing CPR as a nurse anyway is awful.
Yes,
it's not something that you do, unless you work in resource in A&E, it's not something that you do every day.
Yeah.
I know nurses who've been qualified 15 years who've never done it.
Yeah.
I have done it a few times, but to do it on your own child, to do it on your own 12-day-old baby is something else. So,
had you been trained in children's? No. Yeah, because...
Overview.
Yeah, same.
But never actually physically trained. I knew what to do.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes out the window a little bit as well.
I think you're in fight or flight, aren't you? So your adrenaline's going so high at that point.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was one-handed with a baby. Is that right?
It's like fingers. Yeah.
So where you'd be hand on top of the other with an adult, literally, you know, they tell you, don't they? Don't even worry if you break ribs.
Yeah,
You've got to go deep, haven't you, with the compressions? Yeah. Obviously, with a newborn baby, a 12-day-old baby, you can't do that. So you've got to use two fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, oh no, this isn't going to work. I just thought, he's gone, you know. So while I was doing this, Chris was phoning 999, and it was awful. And then I kind of lost it, and Chris put him on the floor and carried on. And I was just, I don't know what I think I was screaming.
Yeah.
And at this point, Louis woke up.
Of course.
And I'll never forget Louis saying, "Mum, I thought you were laughing." thought you and Dad were laughing.
Right.
You know, like when you see your parents having a good old laugh together and, you know, it's a real happy time. It'd been a real happy time in our household.
Yeah.
And then the paramedics were there, like...
Were they? Really quick?
So quick. I mean, our front door was open. We must have just left it open.
As
but
in
it was
unlocked?
open, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they were just up the stairs. It didn't feel like that long, really. You know, people say these things feel like, but they were amazing. And I just remember I was like on the floor next to my bed, and this paramedic had him on one arm on the top of my stairs, like I think he was trying to put an airway in him or something. And I'd lost it at this point. And then the police come. Quite a few of them, 2-3 police cars, because it's an unexpected death of a child. So, well, you know, you worked in the police, didn't you?
Yeah.
So they have to treat it as
Suspicious at the time, because I think when a call comes through to the 9s and there's a baby in cardiac arrest, they tend to alert the police anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you when we very first started talking, and we'll come on to that in a bit, I think I know the person that came out to your house, because I was working on homicide at the time.
Yeah.
And it was very normal for what happened was there had to be a night detective on. So you got your response on nights, standard every night of the week. But CID had to provide like so many nights Ds, as it was called. And I remember later coming back, seeing my mate who had been on nights, and just in conversation saying, "All right, mate, how was your nights?" And he said, "Oh, it was awful, actually. I went out to a baby death." And his wife had recently had a baby, and he was called Billy.
No way.
So it stuck with him.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, gosh.
And it stuck with him, and then it stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know you. We'd not met at this
no.
point, because we've only been connected this year.
Yeah.
But at the time, I remember knowing people that knew you.
Yeah.
It gets around,
Yeah, of course
doesn't
it
it?
does,
When
yeah,
things
yeah.
like this
Of course
happen,
it
people
does.
talking, the hairdressers, so and so. So, have you heard about what's happened? I didn't know you, but I'd heard about it.
Yeah.
So there was like this connection with work and at home.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you.
It's
So
crazy.
sorry. Back to
No,
at the time. So did they quickly take him to hospital?
They did. I was on the floor. So my husband went in the ambulance with Billy.
Yeah.
And the rest, it's a bit of a blur, to be honest. I think trauma erases your memory a little bit.
It does.
I think
It does.
we've got our brains have got a clever way of doing that. I just remember sitting on the floor. I can't remember whether I phoned my dad or whether Chris phoned my dad to come and look after Louis, because Louis was there.
Of course.
There was loads of police in my house. I've got to say though, they were all so compassionate, kind, respectful. Not once did we feel like we were being treated. I know that there's people who've gone through similar who've felt like they were treated like criminals. Or
Okay.
Absolutely not. At any point did we feel like that. They were amazing.
Right.
People haven't got a lot of positive things to say about the police, but they were so compassionate. I had like a nightie on, and I remember saying that another police officer coming in and saying to me, "Louise, we need to take you to hospital."
Yeah.
We need to take you to hospital. I think there's something about pronouncing a baby dead, child dead, when they have to have their parents or something. I don't know the laws about it, but there's something to do with that, which is why they needed to get me to hospital.
Right.
I remember going, I've got no clothes.
You in United?
And they got me some clothes out of my wardrobe, and they were really respectful. And I go and get dressed, just really giving me my dignity, you know.
Yeah.
And they took me in the police car with the blue lights on to the children's hospital. And I walked in, and I saw a nurse, and I just went, "He's dead, isn't he?" And the nurse just nodded her head. She was a young nurse. She looked really upset.
Oh, God.
And I just sat on the floor and screamed and cried. And I can feel the pain of it now, but when I'm thinking about it, it feels like it happened to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In that minute, my life was over.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to die, because there's absolutely no point in me being alive now. No point.
So, do you remember how your husband felt? Did he ever tell you? Because we don't talk about the men, do we?
We don't. And you know what? My husband is amazing because we're very, very, very different. I like to talk about Billy. I like to come on podcasts. I like to make videos for charities who ask me to help. I like to go on radio and talk about it. I like to, me talking about Billy keeps him alive.
Talking is therapy as well.
Absolutely. And it helps me process it.
Yeah. But not everyone's the same, and we have
No.
to respect that.
Exactly.
In
You have
both
to
ways.
respect it.
So he has to
Exactly.
respect or other
And he
people that don't.
absolutely does. Yeah. And I absolutely respect that he doesn't want to talk about
Yes,
it.
because we're all different and we
Yeah.
all process things in very different ways.
Yeah.
I use talking as a therapy.
Yeah.
But I do understand that it's not for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's each to their own, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So how was he at the time? Because he was
Quiet.
there with him, like
He was quiet. He was crying. He was smoking, chain smoking. That's how he deals with stuff. He was. I remember we sat on the floor, like where the ambulances come in. We just sat on the floor and we're just like, we couldn't say anything to each other. I just remember saying to each other, like, this. I remember us going, is this really happening? Like, has this really happened? Like, just over the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And then I remember there was a detective.
Yeah.
In her own clothes at the hospital. She was blonde, small, lovely, and she was crying.
Oh.
And I remember hugging her.
Yeah.
And being like, go home and hug your children. She was like, I've got a 3-year-old and a 4. I can't remember her name, but she was lovely. And I remember being like, go home and hug your children. Like, and in that second, I remember being like, this is it. My life has changed forever.
Yeah. Because
like,
it did.
It did, absolutely.
Yeah. So, how on earth? I bet you can't. I bet you the days after that. Can you remember them?
Oh, not really. Like, I remember not wanting to leave him in the hospital.
Yes. And is that what you had to do? How long could you stay with him?
I haven't got a clue what time it was. What I do remember is we had a WhatsApp group called Billy, Edward and Margot. That's our 3 babies.
Yeah.
We've still got that WhatsApp group. I did say, I didn't know when he died, can we please never ever get rid of this WhatsApp group? Because like,
you can't.
It feels stupid, doesn't it? And Sam and Louise, I looked at my phone, I don't know why, but I had like 20 WhatsApp messages and I was like, what's this? And Sam and Louise were talking about our picnic that we were going on.
Of course.
And I remember sitting in this room and being like, how the hell am I going to tell them that he's died?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to tell anybody? Like, so I just wrote, I don't even know what I remember what I wrote.
So you wrote a message?
I wrote a message.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I wrote. I think I just wrote, I'm at the hospital, Billy's died. And I think they thought I was joking. I mean, not like joke. I'm not a type of person.
You're not going to joke about that, of course.
But I think it was just so like far.
Yeah.
And then you phoned each other, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah. And then I went home. I didn't want to leave him. That was the hardest thing, was leaving him in that hospital on his own.
Yeah.
He was still my baby,
Of course. How can you go home?
Yeah. And knowing that he's going to be put in a mortuary on his own. It's just a horrible thought, I can't remember what happened that day. I know I went to the doctors. My mother-in-law, she's great. My mother and father-in-law came to the hospital, and my mother-in-law got me a doctor's appointment because I just needed some help. Yeah. But I didn't. They wanted to give me some diazepam, but I said I can't have diazepam. I've got another child to look after. I need to. That was then my focus real shifted, didn't it, from me to Louis.
Yeah.
Like, I've got this 9-year-old who used to ask me for a baby brother.
Yeah.
He got one and now he's gone. Like, how do you even begin?
How did you tell him?
I think he's a clever kid. I think, I think my dad told him. I think he was at my mum and dad's then. Because we left him in the house with the police. Like, the police were like, we'll look after him, like, go, which must have been really frightening for him. But they were, like I said, they were great.
Yeah.
One of them was probably your friend.
Yeah.
And I felt safe leaving him there with them because they were so compassionate. And then my dad came and took him to their house.
Yeah.
So I think my mum and dad had told him. I don't remember having actually saying
The words to him.
And then I said, I can't go back to the house. The police phoned me and said, we need to interview you and your husband. I said, that's fine, but I'm not coming back to my house. There was a cot there, a pushchair there. I loved my pushchair.
What pushchair was it?
I had a bugaboo.
Did you?
Yeah, remember my obsession with that pushchair. Like, honest to God,
Yeah.
I was more excited about it. I still love buying pushchairs. When I see people buying them, I'm like, I'll hawk them with you.
Yeah.
And I thought I used it for George there, the pushchair.
Yeah.
So we went to my mum's and the police came there. 2 detectives from the child
child protection.
team.
Yeah, or child abuse
They were
investigation unit,
absolutely-
probably.
They interviewed me and Chris together. It wasn't formal. It was a proper interview.
Yeah,
They were asking us
written
lots of
statement, was
questions.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they were really, really nice people. It was a man and a woman. The woman hadn't been a police officer for that long. I remember she told me she used to be an upholsterer,
Oh,
like
right.
for furniture.
Gone
This
from-
is like the random conversations that I was having. I remember like having real strange conversations with people. Like my mind wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But they were really, really compassionate as well. And then they said, that's fine, we're not concerned. You can go home whenever you want to. The police had been outside our house until that point.
Okay.
Not letting anybody in and out
Yeah.
because obviously a child had died there.
Yeah, so that's like would be classed as a scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So until they know that nothing wrong's
Yeah.
happened in that house, at that point they know, right, there's
Yeah.
nothing criminal has happened
Yeah.
here. We can lift the scene and then you can carry on as normal. But I bet you still didn't want to go back, did you?
I didn't want to go back. I remember saying, just go and put the house up for sale now. We're going to move to Spain. Should we just move to Spain? Like, I remember saying stuff like that. Like, I'm going to quit my job. I can't be a nurse anymore. I'm going to quit my job. I think I actually texted my old boss saying, I don't know if it was that day or the next day or when, saying, I'm not coming back to work. Like, I wasn't thinking.
Of course, you're
rationally.
irrational
Yeah.
at that point because you can't think straight.
No. And then I think I went home, and then I think you came, you, Louise, and Alison came to my house. So my friends left their
Kids at home.
less than 2-week-old babies
Yeah.
to come and comfort their friend who's just lost their baby. I mean, when I say that out loud now, I just
Yeah.
think, flipping heck.
Yeah. But how did you feel? Because
I was numb. I was
Yeah.
drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, wasn't I? That's all I was doing.
yeah. Did so how long was Billy in the mortuary for? Did he have to have a
Oh,
post-mortem?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is traumatising.
Yes. I've been to many a
Yeah.
post-mortem.
I didn't want a post-mortem. The thought, I know what happens in a post-mortem. It's not nice. I went to see him at the Children's the next day. They've got a beautiful, I think it's called the Rainbow Room. It's like a flat. They've
Yeah.
got like a little mini kitchen, and me and Chris spent a long, long time there with him. And then he had to go back to the Children's for his post-mortem because he was under 3 months.
Mm.
They have to go back to the Children's, so they were moving him around, and that was quite like distressing and traumatising for me, thinking. But there was an amazing lady, Tracy, who's the bereavement coordinator. She's retired now. She worked at the Children's Hospital, and she was like phenomenal. Like, I used to phone her and say, can you go and make sure Billy's all right? Will you go and put his blanket on him? Make sure
Oh.
he's got some toys. And she'd phone me back an hour later and be like, I've just been down to see him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be with him. Like,
Yeah.
I was a mom without a baby,
Yeah.
and I was breastfeeding.
Right.
So you can imagine
the milk's still
what my
coming.
body was going through.
Yeah.
So the GP gave me some medication to dry it up. It doesn't work fully, but it was... Oh, yeah,
Cabbages,
I had
cabbage
I
leaves.
did, didn't I?
Oh, I remember using
Yeah.
cabbage leaves when my milk didn't come till too late.
Yeah.
Basically, he was starving.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had all the intentions of breastfeeding my first, but the milk was too late coming, so he needed feeding.
Yeah,
so by the
absolutely.
time milk come, he was settled on a bottle,
Yeah,
and I didn't want to disrupt it
No.
at that point. So because it's an old
Yeah.
wives' tale, but it does actually work.
yeah,
Cabbage leaves.
yeah.
You've got to be careful which
Cabbage
cabbage you use, isn't it?
It's like meant to be like the normal cabbage, not like a white cabbage, I think.
I think
Like a Savoy.
A Savoy. You've
Yeah.
got to use a Savoy.
Yeah, I do. That's what I do.
Two cabbage leaves in you.
I'm sure you or Lou or somebody said something about lettuce, and I was like, I'm sure it's cabbage, and we like giggled
It's
about
not
it.
lettuce, it's
Yeah.
cabbage. But basically, I remember getting in the shower and the water jets hitting my boobs and the milk coming out. But
yeah, it's agony as well, isn't
fucking
it?
kills.
So I was like, I had this trauma, I had this physical pain, I had, it was grim. I was still recovering from my cesarean.
Of course.
It was awful. I remember being so worried about Louis though, and I don't know if it was the first day or this. We went to see him a couple of times at the Children's. The second time we went to see him, ringing. My dad took us. My dad was a taxi driver, so he had a taxi. Ringing Edward's Trust, who I'll talk about a bit more, but my dad knew about them because he knows that he knew a lot about Birmingham. He was a cabbie, picked people up, and I met lots of different people over the 40 years he worked. So we knew about Edward's Trust, and he said, ring him. So I rang him for Louis.
Right.
At first, I was really worried about Louis. That was, I didn't care about myself at this point.
But we don't.
As far as I was concerned as well, my life was over,
Yeah.
But this little boy has got his whole life ahead of him. So I rang him, and I just remember this voice at the end of the phone. And I've met the woman a few times since who answered that first phone call, and we've spoke about it. And it was like 2 days after he died, and you shouldn't get therapy that early on,
No.
Counselling is for a bit further down the line, but they were amazing, and they put his name down, and they said, we'll ring you, we'll keep in touch with you, which they did. So yeah, I just remember doing that in the car, like on the way to go and see him. And then he went for his post-mortem, and he had to have a full coroner's inquest. So it was a long process.
Yeah.
And I did have periods of thinking, I don't know if you remember, they're going to come and they're going to find something, and they're going to come and put me in prison. I knew that nothing had happened, but you just have that.
Yeah.
I thought any minute now, they're going to knock on the door, and that'll be it. They're just going to go and take me to prison. You read stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
And you go through everything in your mind, But yeah, so it was a long way. I think the coroner's was October.
Could you have a funeral?
Yeah, we had a funeral. They did like the post-mortem, got everything that they needed.
Yes.
And then let me have a funeral. The funeral was on the 20. It was about 5 or 6 weeks. July, 23rd of July, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of threw myself into organising that.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, that must have been a whole, because that then obviously other people are going to be there with with you at that point. Was it like quite a private affair, or did you? Yeah, no, you.
Like I said, he's never going to have a birthday party, so let's just give him a birthday party.
Yeah.
So I put it on social media. I said, whoever wants to come, please come.
Yeah.
I think it had touched a lot of people. So there was people there that I hadn't seen for a long time, which was lovely. It was comforting. People were saying to me, can I bring this person? I was like, you know what, bring who you want. We had the service at Lodge Hill, and then we had Roe Heath, Roe Heath?
Yeah.
We had Roe Heath, and I said, everyone go and pick your children up and bring them to the wake. It wasn't a wake.
It was a party, yeah.
We had balloons. We had somebody did a Paw Patrol mascot.
Yeah.
We had craft. We had face painting. Laura did face painting. It was a party.
Yeah.
People were doing Jager bombs, rightly or wrongly, whatever people's opinions are on that. But it was a celebration,
Yeah.
I did a talk at his funeral, and I said that he'd never felt cold pain. He'd never felt any, so let's just celebrate him.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate all children, And I said, just buy your kids that bloody computer. Just take them on holiday. Just make them happy,
Yeah.
And I had people message me like, I've just booked a holiday after what you said yesterday, and I've just given in and done that because I just thought, life's too bloody short to do all have miserable kids and not try and give your kids what they want. I know there's a line. We don't want a generation of spoiled brats, but
yeah, of course there is a line, but
but just that's just what I thought at that time. And children, like, made me happy at that point.
Yeah.
People used to say to me, how the hell can you hold your friends back, newborn babies?
Well, that was my next question. How
Yeah.
did you feel about Edward and Margot?
I still do love them. Like,
Yeah.
I spent a year with Edward, like, on maternity
Because
leave.
did you still have all your maternity leave? Yeah?
Yeah.
So you spent your maternity leave
with a lot with Lou and Margot, and mostly with Sam and Edward. Like, at one point, I was there like 5 days a week at yours, wasn't I?
How did that feel?
I'm gonna, honest to God, I never ever felt like, I didn't feel jealousy or anything like that. I just didn't let myself, you know. I'm a big believer in a lot of the things that we feel are by choice.
Yeah.
I honestly am, and I think that you can dig deep and choose not to feel like that. All I thought was that happiness that Billy gave me, these babies give to their families. Like, you can't hold a newborn baby and be sad. Like, it's like therapy.
Yeah.
That's what it felt
Yeah.
like. Of course, I was absolutely devastated, you know, but being jealous or hating on somebody else doesn't take any of that away.
No, of
You know what
course
I
not.
mean?
Yeah.
It'd make it worse. They were like my best friends. Like, what am I going to just not have for my best friends, you know?
Yeah. Because I think in some circumstances, you know, it probably could have drove
yeah.
a wedge.
Absolutely. I know I've met loads of people through baby loss, loads, and lots of them have not been able to hold babies and stuff. And you know what? That's fine. Like, it's each their own, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I just didn't decide to take that path. And we had a nice year, really. It was a real sad year. We had some real hard times.
Yeah.
I was pulled out of some dark places, but I've got some nice memories of that year.
Yeah. So how did you then become involved with the Edward Trust?
So when I rang them about
Louis, like in those early days.
they said to me, do you want some counselling? At the time, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, but probably, yeah, you know, not. And I did start counselling. I can't remember how long it was after he died, but I went for about a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's ever had any counselling like through NHS or etc., but you probably get like 6 sessions.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like, Edward's Trust are absolutely phenomenal. The way that there's no end. It's when you're ready.
Yeah.
There's lots of different texts. My counsellor was just, and Louis' counsellor.
Just brilliant.
I've
two separate counsellors, yeah.
Both called Sue.
Oh,
The
no
two
way.
Sues. But, like, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I met other people there. There's a woman called Lucy who works for Edward's Trust. She's the engagement manager, I think her job title is. She lost her little boy Jack. She was a teacher, and then we went to Edward's Trust, and now she works there. And she's like phenomenal, and like meeting people like that a bit further down their journey. It gives you hope. There is hope. There absolutely is hope. I don't want this just to be a sad story of a baby who died. I want this to be a story. There's a beautiful little boy who died, but you can live your life again and you can be happy again.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I always say that grief isn't all of me now. It sits like beside me, because you never ever get over it.
Of course you don't.
Ever. Like, I think about Billy every single day when I wake up.
Yeah.
Every single day.
And that will never change.
And and Edward is a little boy, and he's 8, 2 days after what Billy would be this year.
Right, yes. So,
and it will be that forever. And when he gets married, and when he, you know, and some people say, God, that's a horrible reminder. It's not a horrible reminder. It's it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think the counselling and the therapy thing, I don't talk about my day job, as we know, but I still do deal with lots of grieving families, and I do lots of referrals and things like that. And I recently referred a family, and they told me it had to be 3 months after.
Yeah.
So I think that first 3 months is probably your processing, and then you can start any sort of.
And I don't think you remember the tools that counselling gives you. If you give it to somebody when they're in that height of trauma,
if you tell someone something in those early days, they are not going to remember it. And through my years of dealing with grieving families, which has probably been over a decade now, I always start off with saying to them, you start off with your compassion and things like that, but there is no point. I might have to give them certain documents, but I say, don't even read it.
Yeah.
There's no point you reading that now, because it is not going to go in. So eventually I'm going to tell you to refer to that, and here it is. But there's no point even bothering at the minute because it's just you're not going to absorb it at all. So I think that probably is like, there's something in our brain.
There is.
There's the trauma side that just doesn't allow us to.
Absolutely. And you know what? You should be upset. Like, it's absolutely normal.
Of course
like,
it is.
to say to someone, right, you need counselling now 3 weeks after your child's died, that wouldn't be normal, would it?
You just couldn't process it at that point.
Absolutely.
You've got to go through all sorts of things. So, I mean, we'll come on to these because another thing that's sort of like talk to families about, you've got to go through that year of firsts.
Yeah.
So there's going to be...
Absolutely. We used to speak about all the time.
Yeah. The first Christmas without, first birthday without, first Mother's Day, first whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You've got to go through that year. And this is grief in general, you know, where you've just lost your dad.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that grief, that year of firsts.
Mm-hmm.
Father's Day's coming up. You know, there's all these things that you have to get through. And however you get through them, everyone's different. You know, some people might want to be sedated. Some people might want to go and celebrate. Everybody is different and it's fine. But so you've started like now, you know, working with the Edwards Trust and sort of... they're a charity, yeah?
Yeah.
And what is their objective? What is that there? Is it specifically for baby loss?
No, it's for children, bereaved children and parents who've lost a young child or young person.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so they've been going for, I think it's nearly 40 years, so I should have had a look at that. But, you know, it's a long time. It was started by a family who lost their little boy Edward.
Right.
And it's phenomenal, really, phenomenal. And what they did for Louis, what they did for me, you know, I owe them everything. But what they did for Louis, he was a lost 9-year-old boy. He was angry. He'd never ever been an angry child. He was like such a good child, you know.
Yeah.
Calm, chilled, loving, but he just kind of was lashing out, and understandably, and they really helped that. They did loads of stuff with him, you know, memory jars. I've got a beautiful painting on my wall that he did with his counsellor of his dream world.
Oh.
Louis can speak about Billy as openly as I can.
Okay.
Because of the counselling that he's had.
Right.
If you ask him how many brothers he's got, he will tell you he's got 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Every single time. And he'll say, I've got 2 brothers, but one of them's died.
Yeah.
You know, he's amazing. They used to do like computer games with them, boxing. That's where he started, but he got into boxing through it because he used to do a lot of like, they had a boxing bag in there, and then his teacher said to me, his counsellor said to me, why don't you try him with some boxing lessons, you know? It might help a bit of his frustration. We did, and we took him to a brilliant boxing gym, and he still goes now. So you know, they gave us the tools to be able to live our new normal. Yeah. Because that's what you have to do. You have to create a new life.
Yeah.
You know, is it 1 in 3 people lose a baby at any stage?
Yeah.
So, you know, you just have to learn to live a new way.
Yeah.
You know.
Did your husband have any counselling?
No. Was offered. We asked if we wanted to do it together. I said, I'll come with you. It's just not his thing. Yeah. You know, he's got some good mates.
Yeah.
That I'm sure he'd spoke to. We've had the odd conversation. When he died, and then after the postmortem, when he went to the funeral home. So there's lots of coincidences. There was a girl, I don't know she won't mind me talking about, Lauren, who I used to work at the QE with. We knew her in passing, didn't we? She worked on a different ward. But she lost her daughter Poppy 7 days before I lost Billy. Right. She was born with a congenital heart condition. Right. And I think she was 20 days old. And I remember getting a message on Facebook from her saying, hi Louise, I've heard about Billy. We weren't friends on Facebook at this point. I lost my daughter a week. I think she died a week before. And we were even using the same funeral home. Like, yeah. And like me and Lauren, really, we used to chat on Messenger, you know. We were understood, you know.
Of course, because someone else is going through what you're going through.
And we'd have like conversations like about the funeral and this and that, and conversations that if you read them back now, you'd probably like, wow, gosh, there. But to us, that was just a normal conversation, and we really, really, like, Lauren was a real big, help and support to him.
Yeah.
She's got 2 beautiful rainbow children now, and I remember Poppy's funeral. She was using the same funeral home. And there was an amazing lady there who worked there, Jeanette, who I'm still in touch with as well in the funeral home. And we had to wait for Poppy to go to her funeral before Billy could be brought to the funeral home.
Right.
So, they keep them at like a bigger branch and then move them to the local branch. So it was bittersweet, really.
Yeah. Because they are fantastic these days.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, what the funeral homes and stuff can do.
Oh,
And
amazing.
even the mortuaries, I mean, I spend quite a lot of time in mortuaries, even still, like to this day.
Yeah.
And the staff there
Yeah.
are so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And people think, why would you ever want to do that job? But I can absolutely see why people want to do that job. Like,
Yeah.
they are literally like making the hardest time in people's lives that little bit more compassionate and that little bit easier.
See,
It
I
must be
struggle.
rewarding.
See, I could go to, this sounds quite grim, but I could go to an adult post-mortem any day of the week. I can't cope with a child.
No.
And I've dealt with many a child death
Yeah.
in my career and stuff, and it's something that really, I can't cope with it.
No.
I really can't still now. I mean,
It's just so unnatural, isn't it?
it's not right, is it?
No.
Yeah. So, so let's move on a bit then. So at what point, or did you ever, because you've got another son now who I've met.
Yeah.
Lovely little George.
George.
And he's 4, is he?
4, yeah.
Yeah. So Billy would be 8 this year, is that right? So 4 years in then, you've had another son. At what point did you think, I want to have another baby?
Probably straight away.
Did you?
Yeah.
Straight away? Was
I'm
it
going
that?
to be honest, yeah. And it wasn't a replacement.
No.
I had spent 5-6 years of my life trying for a baby.
Yeah.
Wanting a baby. Infertility is horrendous. After all the things I've been through in my life, after losing a child, infertility is probably the second biggest battle that I've had.
Yeah.
It becomes an obsession. It becomes your life.
Yeah.
And then to have that empty arms, they say there's a thing, empty arm syndrome, when you've lost a baby. You need, there's a charity called Aching Arms, and they supply teddies for people to,
Do they?
yeah, just to have something to
hold.
They're donated by other, so I've bought some before, like on Billy's birthday, and you buy them and then they donate them in memory of your child to somebody else who's lost a child.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so there's things like that. But I did want one straight away. Chris didn't. My husband didn't.
Did you not?
I can't remember when we started trying, but it took us a long time again, and we had 2 rounds of IVF.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you'd been sort of like on this list for IVF
Yeah.
with Billy, but he was natural.
Yeah.
And then with the IVF, was that through the NHS?
No.
Did you have to
We
pay
had to
private for it?
Yeah.
Can you get it on the NHS? I'm sure you can, can't
Not
you?
if you've already got a child.
Right, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So if you've already...
It's a postcode. It's
Bit of a
probably
lottery.
different across the country. In Birmingham, if you or your partner have already got children,
Right.
so it doesn't have to be
together.
You don't qualify for it on the NHS, so we have to pay for it. Yeah.
So you've had a couple of rounds of IVF.
Yeah.
And is that... Oh, did you imagine that's quite intrusive?
It is. It is. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's not nice. Lots of injections, lots of scans, lots of procedures. It's not the best. But it was a means to an end for me, and this is definitely going to work. This is definitely going to work.
Yeah.
The first one, I didn't even produce any eggs. We don't know why. And then the second one didn't work.
Right.
And that's awful, because that's almost like having a miscarriage.
Yes.
Because they've put an embryo inside you. You think it's going to work, and it doesn't.
Right.
So I think we kind of, after the second one, I think we kind of said, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Enough's enough. We've got Louis. We had Billy. We were so lucky. Let's just move house.
Right.
Let's put our house up for sale, which we'd wanted to do for a long time, but it's never the right time, is it?
No.
Let's just sell our house. Let's, move somewhere where we've wanted to live for a while. Let's get on with our lives, because I felt like my 30s were all, even my late 20s and my 30s, I was just trying for a baby, dealing with losing, like, my life was always on hold. We never just got to live our lives. We never got to have holidays at IVF and this, and we was
Yeah.
always saving for something, or
Yeah.
you know, our lives. You know, it was almost a decade of our life where we were
Yeah.
in turmoil, really. So we
Did
were
you sell
like,
your house?
yeah, and then
How was that?
it was really, really emotional. So Billy's room was untouched.
Mm.
I'd never. All I'd done is shove stuff in there and close the door.
Yeah.
His pushchair, his bouncy chair,
Yeah.
his jungle gym or whatever you call
Yeah.
them. Everything had kind of just been chucked in there, and the door closed.
Could you have gone in there?
I did used to go in there
Yeah.
and look at his stuff, and then close the door and come out periodically. I didn't want to walk past it every day and look at it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wanted to.
Mm.
Sometimes, you know, you want to feel that pain. Like,
Yeah. Like we just said about the
it's been
programmes that we
real,
watch.
yeah.
If you know, if you allow yourself
Yeah.
to go there, you've got to switch it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was a mess and I had to sort it out.
Mm.
So I remember being like, right, we've got to sort this room out. I had loads of clothes. Like, you know what it's like when you're that excited to have a baby? Like, we bought that much stuff. I said, come on, if we're selling the house, they're coming round to do the photos. I think I left it till like the day before or 2 days before, typical me style. I'm always last minute. Do you remember I sent you all a photo? It looked nice, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then after I sorted his room out, I found out I was pregnant.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I found out I was pregnant on the 20th. It was COVID.
Was it?
The day that Boris sat behind that desk and said the first proper lockdown was announced, the 23rd was the day that I found out I was pregnant.
23rd of March,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. So not only we were trying to sell a house during COVID, which was a nightmare, we then found out we were pregnant unexpectedly when we were happy.
Yeah.
Although we decided to, you know, stop trying and not have any more IVF, etc. And then, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My God. So you sold your house in COVID, yeah?
Yeah.
So it did sell.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask you, don't want to go too much, but leaving that house.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm getting upset now. I've not got upset on this podcast yet. See, like my house now, I feel like I'd be so sad to leave it.
Because you brought your children home there.
But did you feel like you was leaving him?
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't I? I was real torn. And I think that's probably why it took us as long as it did.
Yeah.
To put it up for sale. And it was the only home he'd ever had.
Yeah.
And Louis was brought home there. George was brought home there because we moved when George was 4 weeks old.
Right.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my counsellor about it and her saying to me, Louise, memories are here and here.
Yeah.
They're not in bricks, you know.
Which is true.
Yeah. And that wherever you are, Billy will be with you. And he absolutely will, you know. And, you know, we needed a bigger house because we had another baby on the way. And our plan was always to move. If Billy was an 8-year-old, we would have moved. It wouldn't have changed anything. It was always our plan. But, you know, yeah, absolutely. It was hard. And that day... And I was 4 weeks after a cesarean, and poor Chris was packing up like a maniac with his newborn baby. And I remember sitting on the floor in Billy's bedroom holding George and just like kind of talking to him, you know, waiting for the keys. But so we still drive past the house now, and I don't know whether we do that because of that connection.
Yeah.
And you know what? This might sound a bit strange, but I almost thought as well, oh God, I wonder if somebody will think, oh God, a baby's died in this house. You know, you don't know what's happened in a house when you buy it, do you? You know?
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm sure they didn't ever know. I remember thinking, oh God, if I ask questions, like when I was very early on pregnant, when people were doing viewings and stuff and seeing there's a nursery set up, So I never used to like doing the viewings and stuff in case people ask questions. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But yeah, like it'll always have sad and happy memories,
of course it will. Yeah,
But yeah, I really took on board what my counsellor said with that. That it's wherever you are, you take them with you, and it's not about the
yeah.
But it is special. That bringing a baby home is so special.
Oh, I
isn't it?
know, I know. So like George, because I've met George.
Yeah,
And you've
cheeky
just had
George.
I've been looking at your holiday pictures because
Yeah.
you've just been away with him. Do you want any more children?
I'd love more children.
Oh my God.
I always used to say that, like, I'd just let nature do its course.
Yes.
After what I'd been through.
Yeah.
And IVF and blah, 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 I don't feel like I've got the right to say, I'm going to not have any more children.
Right. Okay.
I mean, my husband would tell you a very different answer on that.
Would he?
Yeah. But
you'd go with it if it
I
happened.
got pregnant tomorrow, I got pregnant tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I will, but you never know. I probably will now.
Imagine if you said that. Imagine if you said after
do
this.
part 2, the big one.
Yeah, that'd be good. So, like you say, there is hope. You've got,
absolutely.
George was natural. All three of them were natural.
Yeah,
even though you had the
yeah.
struggles, they were all natural in the end. I do think, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, I think you can try too hard.
Oh, absolutely. And when people say it to you when you're trying, you want to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
I'm not a violent person, but when people go, just relax, book a holiday,
Yeah.
turn the heating up.
Yeah.
People say stuff like that to you.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, shut up. Like, I've been trying every month for
Ever.
3 years,
Yeah.
and you're telling me to book a holiday. I don't think I've been on holiday.
Yeah.
But 100% I do.
You can try too hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stress levels,
Yeah.
like cortisol.
Yeah.
Is like a big stress hormone in your body, and I honestly think it plays a huge part.
Yes,
in
I
conception.
agree. And I tell you what I find sometimes when I've known people that have been trying and trying and trying, and then they've split up with the partner, and then they've got with a new partner and got pregnant straight away, and you just think because it weren't meant to be with them.
Yeah. Or because like that was such a stress built up relationship, and then you relaxed and got with someone else.
Yeah.
You're in that happy new relationship bubble.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The 2 times we conceived naturally after we were told we couldn't was when we were told that's fine, you're going to be put on the IVF list now.
Yeah.
So we forgot about it, didn't think about it, and thought we were going to have IVF. And the second time when we thought we've had IVF, it hasn't worked, let's just get on with our lives.
Yeah.
And we caught there.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But
you can try too hard.
It's really hard not to.
Oh, I know.
So it is really hard not to. And infertility is horrible. And I've met women along the way, when you're going through something, and I'm open about stuff. I'm an oversharer, I'm that type of person. People open up to you, you talking about it. I had women in their 50s, 60s messaging me on Facebook telling me they lost a baby 35, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're thanking me thank you for talking about it, because I don't talk about it, and now I'm going to talk about her. I'm going to talk about my daughter or my son, or and I've seen them like start putting things on Facebook when it's their birthday.
That's
and
lovely.
things like that, and it's almost like giving them permission,
Yeah, which is nice. And like you say, if someone takes comfort from this episode or sees that there's hope out there might be someone that's trying.
Absolutely.
and might relax and it might happen, or they might have had a loss and it might give them hope. So that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So God, it's been a tough one, this has. Carl's got a cough and he has to keep going outside. He keeps walking out and I'm thinking he's obviously trying not to cough and disrupt us. Right, so Spin Justice of the Week. This is an injustice, isn't it? The episode is an injustice.
Yeah.
You've lost a child, but have you got one?
Me and Sam were talking about this on the way, weren't we? Because I don't like to stew on things and make things make me feel like that.
Yeah.
But we were talking about IVF, especially for secondary fertility, people who've already got a child don't get any help with funding with IVF. And that's hard, having a little boy or a little girl saying to you, Mom, I just want for Christmas, I just want a baby brother.
Yeah.
I just want a baby sister.
Yeah.
that's really, really hard. You're not only grieving for you there with the infertility, you're grieving for your children. So
Yeah.
I think that's an injustice. I know the NHS isn't a bottomless pit. I know we can't give everything to everybody, but I just think there should just be a little bit more help with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For all the women and men out
Yeah.
there, you know, men feel it just as much as the women
Yeah.
that struggle with it.
Mine's NHS based. So I was telling you earlier, but I said
Yeah.
I'll save it. So my Spin Justice this week is I had some bloods done because I've just been really struggling. Like gone through, yes, Hayley, you're going through the menopause. You need to take this. You've got no estrogen. You need to have HRT. I've been doing this for ages, like a year. But it would improve for a bit and then it would go back. Like the night sweats and the joint aches might clear up, but like the tiredness wasn't shifting. I mean, it's a bit of a joke now. Like people message me in the afternoon and they're like, she won't pick this up because she'll be asleep. Because I just go to sleep because I'm just that tired. And like some people are like, oh, Hayley, you're doing too much. No, I'm not. I know my body.
Yeah,
I know how
absolutely.
I should feel. And I know that this feeling is not normal. So anyway, I went back to the doctors. I'd had enough, and I was like, just do all my bloods as much as you can. Just test me for as much as you can. So they did, but in the meantime, I'd spoken to someone who's going to be my shout out, and he'd said to me, when you get your bloods, give them to me. So don't basically accept what the NHS say. Let me see them. Okay, so, and by the way, the NHS, so they took my bloods and everything, and then they just said, be about a week.
Yeah.
So you can log in now to the NHS app, can't you? So every day I was just checking, and it weren't actually that long. It was about 4 days, and they were on there. So I logged in on the one night, and I was like, right, all my blood results are on there. So you can flip through, and I can't decipher what they mean because there's lots of numbers and lots of letters. So I just screenshot them all and sent them on to Simon. So he runs Fitness Factory, which is a gym. Lots of the boxers that I've been on, that's how I've become connected with him. He knows his shit when it comes to deficiencies in nutrition. So I screenshot them all, sent it to him saying, can you work any of this out? And within like 10 minutes, he'd basically said, your vitamin D's rock bottom, your B9's rock bottom, your B12's rock bottom. But on the NHS, it says no further action required because there's a limit. So let's just say the limit for your vitamin D is 49. So unless it's 49 or under, you will get, there's no further action required. Mine was like 50, 51 or something like that. The optimal levels are 200.
Oh, gosh.
So no wonder I'm fucking dragging myself around. It's like sadness out of inside out. Look, literally, like, honestly, couldn't stay away. It was literally, like, you know, when she's like touching all the balls when they're Joy's dragging her, and she's just like, that was me. Doing, you know, I'm on the bike every day. I was knackered. So anyway, he said to me, come down, I've got stuff that you can take. Oh, obviously like supplements. So literally went down there the next day and he'd given me, right, you need to take this, you need to take this, you need to take this. So there's like D3, K2, magnesium, this methyl B or whatever it's called. Been taking it, plus I've been distilling my water. So after the Dr. Joe and Kelly episode, I'd bought a distiller through the crystal water experience and I've been distilling it. So I tell you what,
I feel better.
Oh my God, like I just feel like, just not to feel like I need sleep in the day. But the injustice of it is that the NHS wouldn't tell me that was wrong with me. They would say there's no further action required because you're not at that minimum level. But by the way, that minimal level has not been revisited in years and years and years.
Yeah.
So the rock bottom is 49. And actually, what they should have said to me is the optimal level is 200. So if you wanted to go and buy some supplements, it probably would make you feel better.
I mean, you were close to that anyway, weren't you?
Yeah. So I feel like I've had to do all this myself.
Yeah.
So if anyone's struggling out there, get your bloods done, but don't trust what they say. Go to someone that knows what they're talking about when it comes to stuff like this. So he's my shout out for this week, and he gets a lot of shout outs on this podcast, which he should start paying now, really, because everyone shouts him out if I have a boxer on. But I feel like he's helped me, as well as Dr. Joe, because me and Dr. Joe have been having a weekly Zoom call and a weekly check-in because we're journaling my detox. So when I was rock bottom bloods, like the first recording we've done is me literally like just got out the shower, I've got no makeup on, I look rough. We're going to put them out. We're going to put them out on social media. And we're going to do the journal. So I spoke to her this morning, and I'm like, right, I'm on it. Like, I'm feeling better in 1 week.
Yeah.
How is this even happening? But there's a 5-step program to the detox. So step 1 is the water. Step 2 is basically killing the parasites and removing the heavy metals from your body. Then there's step 3, 4, 5. She can talk me through all of this, and I'll share it.
Yeah.
But it's basically to get rid of all the shit. And you might feel like you've got a flu or a cold
when you detox,
because all the shit's coming out of you, and that's how it has to come out through. Sorry, mum. Shit, piss, blood, sweat, and snot. That's how it comes out. So if you've feel like you've got a cold, it's the toxins coming out. If you've got the shit, it's the toxins coming out. That's how it works. So yeah, that's mine for this week. Who's your shout out for?
Oh, it's difficult.
Yeah, have a few if you want.
So, you know, we're coming up to June, which is a difficult month for us, because it's been his birthday and the anniversary of his death and Father's Day.
Yes, all in 1 month. Yeah.
So it's a difficult month, and you know, it's all. I want to shout out all, my mum and dad, my sister, and all our friends who've still here 8 years down the line. You know, people probably do a little eye roll, or she's still going on 8 years later. But I just want to say that when people feel like that about somebody who's still going on about something, they're not doing it. They're doing it to keep people alive. They're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
And my biggest shout out is Sam, because she's literally been there.
Yeah.
Through people used to joke and say she was my carer.
Yeah.
She's just come. She's here today with me.
Yeah. We'll do a picture after, and we'll put it on.
She came to coroners.
Yeah.
With me. She came to the funeral home. I've got other friends, amazing friends as well, who did similar things. But 8 years later, Sam's still here.
Yeah.
Being dragged to these things with me because you need a bit of moral support. It's difficult to talk about these things, and then.
But actually, Sam's connected us.
Oh yeah, absolutely, she has. Yeah.
So
because it was her idea, this was.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly say this. We use the same hairdressers.
Yeah.
All three of us.
Yeah.
Stage 23 had a shout out a long time ago.
I was about to give her another shout out.
They were a shout out in the early days. Yeah. So we all use the same hairdressers, and I don't know if that's how you got to hear of the podcast, Sam. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of mutual friends.
Mutual friends, and you say there's a podcast and start listening, and I know that you listen and stuff. And then I was in the hairdressers one day, and you were in there, but we hadn't spoken because we didn't know who the other person was. Although I did suspect that was you, but we hadn't been connected really at that point. But we were talking in the hairdressers about the podcast. And but you hadn't said anything, and I hadn't said anything to you anyway. Go home, and that's that. And then Sam messaged me either that night or the next day and said, "Oh, I really think my friend would be good on your podcast."
Well, Sam had messaged me when I seen you in that hairdressers. Was it that day? Or the
yes,
day
it
before?
was.
She'd messaged me the day before saying, "I really think you should go on this podcast, and talk about Billy and blah blah blah." And then I was like, "Oh, let me have a look." And I looked, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's really good." And then the next day you were literally in the hairdressers, and I remember texting you saying this is so weird. Haley's literally in the hairdressers, but I thought I'm not going to say anything. But you were talking about the podcast. So it was busy, wasn't it?
It was busy in there and stuff, and then Sam had messaged me and said, "I think my friend would be good on your podcast," and said who you were, and I said, "This lady was next to me in the hairdressers yesterday,
it's weird, isn't
or
it?
today," and it was I was like, "Just put us in touch with each other." So we obviously started speaking. It was quite a few months ago.
It's gone quick though, hasn't it?
It's gone quick. It was quite a few months back, but everything is down to timing. It all happens when it's meant to. And then I like to chat with the guests and get to know them over a few months. Yeah. So we met up, didn't we? The three of us and George met up for a coffee at Starbucks, and we had a chat. So we felt comfortable with each other, and then we've just sort of messaged on and off over the months, and then booked in obviously today. But it's funny because I had a call with someone yesterday that I've been connected with her for a while. I've got a call with someone this afternoon. It's how it goes, it's good. But and I knew you bring the dog.
Yeah, I love
She's been so good.
She has been good. She's an angel.
She's just literally lay there and not moved.
Oh. I have got a Facebook page. I forgot to say this.
Have you?
We've done some fundraising since Billy died. I've got this thing about giving back.
Yeah.
We sent emails to everybody. We sent out emails to police and the paramedics. we're so. I said in my talk at my funeral, we are really quick to criticise our services in this country, but you know what? When the poo hits the fan and you really, really, really need them,
Yeah.
they're there.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. You know, maybe not for everybody. I know nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's run by humans. Humans aren't perfect, but I could not fault any of the services. So we've raised money at his funeral, we've done abseils, gung ho. What else have we done, Sam? Oh, Sam jumped out of a plane and my husband jumped out of a plane. We do parties, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
We do parties we did them every year. They've slowed down a little bit now because of work and stuff. So Billy's Rainbows on Facebook if anybody wants to
so I'll follow
have a
that
little
then.
look and see what's going on. It's been a bit quiet lately because life gets in the way, doesn't it, of the stuff that you really want to do. But we've raised lots of money for Edward's Trust and other charities that help they're all local as well. I like to help local charities.
Yeah. So shout out Edward's Trust as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I told you I had a lot of shout outs. I could sit here all day
That's
shouting
fine.
people
Yeah,
out.
that's absolutely fine. Well, thank you so much. It's been an
thank you for
emotional
having
one.
me.
Do you understand why I didn't want to end the series on this episode?
Yes, absolutely.
It's all about the strategy and how it works, and I think it's worked out well.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you. And thanks, Sam. We'll get a picture after.
Yes.
Thanks, Carl. If you have a topic that you want to discuss, get in touch at B31spinjustice@gmail.com or via Instagram @spinjustice.